Hey, what's going on, friend? In today's video, we're going to discuss how you can build a $1 million multifamily portfolio in 12 months or less. But before we do, if you're new to the channel, welcome. We're glad to have you. So on this channel, we like to focus on the 3 pillars to financial freedom, which are personal finance. We discuss credit, budgeting, money management, all that good stuff. We also like to focus on funding, having a repeatable source of investment capital so you can buy multifamily properties on repeat. And third, and certainly not least, real estate investing, where we like to emphasize our attention on multi-units and multifamily properties for buy and hold purposes for the cash flow. So without further ado, let's dive into the topic. So the topic is building a $1 million multifamily portfolio in 12 months. Now, before I give you the step-by-step play, let me share with you a little bit about my background. So back in 2010, around the real estate crash, it was a perfect storm, meaning interest rates were all-time low and the purchase price of properties too also were an all-time low, right? That's why I say it's a perfect storm. It was a perfect time to start investing. And that's when I started. So during that time, I was to put it lightly, a disgruntled employee. Hence the reason for the book, Quit Your Day Job, right? I was disgruntled. Why? Because I was reprimanded at my 9-to-5, in which I think I should have been congratulated. We got the results that we were looking for, but I obtained the results in unconventional ways, just being creative and so forth. So I used that situation in my 9-to-5, that reprimand I received, as fuel, as motivation to stop treating real estate investing as a hobby and more so like a part-time job, okay? Now, when this situation happened to me, the first thing I did is I wrote myself a creed. I know that sounds spooky, crazy, a little hippie, but it worked, right? I wrote a book about it. So I said to myself, I wrote it down, if I don't buy my first investment property by this date and time, I ought to be ashamed of myself. And I cannot be ashamed of myself because I have every resource at my disposal to make this a reality. And secondly, in addition to the creed, I wrote my resignation letter. I didn't turn it in. I just posted it a few years in advance, about 4 years exactly, okay? So I had these 2 documents on my cubicle. So every time I enter my office, it was a constant visual reminder of my goals. For one, my immediate short-term goal, get a property closed by end of this year, not just any property, a multifamily property. And second, a long-term goal, to be able to exit the 9-to-5 in 4 years or less. So that's the first step. It's just making a visual reminder where I can see it every day to help motivate me, I should say, to pursue real estate seriously, okay? Now, you might be thinking, well, how does that relate to a multifamily portfolio? Okay, so being that I'm just getting started on real estate investing, I didn't know the ins and outs of what I should do first. Should I find a deal first? Should I find the money? Which mortgage lender should I reach out to? Should I use hard money, seller financing? Should I invest in my backyard or out of state, in this market, in an up market, a down market? I had no clue. So I was just getting started, just trying to figure things out as we went along, right? As I went along, I should say. And 3 years passed. Within 3 years, I had 7 rentals. I bought a duplex, a single family in my first year. My second year of investing, I bought 0 because I was just trying to figure out this property management thing out. You know how it is with tenants. I didn't have any prior training, so I'm letting tenants move in without a security deposit, not doing background checks, and it was horrible. So for a full year, I couldn't buy another property because I had so many issues just with managing the asset. Half the battle was buying the property, but the other half is the asset management. So it took me a year to cut my teeth to learn how to effectively manage a property. So my 3rd year of investing, I bought a 4-unit. So I'm at 7 units already. And I was in a networking group, right? And my mentor that was in a networking group, one of his criteria was, if you happen to close on a property, it was your duty to share your experience with the group. Share the good, the bad, the ugly, and the numbers. So that way, others can learn vicariously through you, but also they can provide, those who are more experienced, of course, they can provide you with insights of what to do next time. So it was my turn to come up to the middle of the classroom. We had these meetings on Saturdays in the classroom, right? And I shared the numbers, the good, the bad, the ugly, and my mentor said, okay, great job, Juan, but question for you. How much more passive income do you need to say goodbye to 9-to-5? And at that point, I just needed $2,000 more in passive income. Because the 7 units I had in my portfolio already, it wasn't enough for me to exit my 9-to-5 and turn in that resignation letter that I wrote years back. It just wasn't enough. But I had 1 year left I felt like Kobe in the fourth quarter, God rest his soul, but I felt like it was crunch time. The game is on the line. I have 1 year left to be able to exit the 9 to 5. And so when I shared these experiences with him, he said, man, that's easy. Only thing you gotta do is just buy a 10 unit. Assuming that the 10 units cash flow, which is the profit in your pocket, $200 per unit. So 10 times 200 is 2,000. And when he said that, I thought, easy? Man, it took me 3 long years to get 7 units. And you're trying to share with me that I can get 10 easily in 1 year? Like, how do you think? And I immediately arrested my thought. Because I remember there's a scripture that says, when 2 or 3 come together as touching, anything they ask will be given unto them. And so it hit me. Why am I in disagreement with this? If he believes that this task is easy, who am I to disagree? Why does he have more faith in my ability than I do? He sees the potential that I fail to see. And that's the second tip. I know it seems kind of hokey-pokey about creeds, resignation letters, also mixing your faith with someone else, but these are some of the things that I've done outside of the technical aspect of finding properties to help me along my journey, to have $1 million portfolio. So that once he said that, I realized, you know what? I gotta make this happen. I gotta make this happen. To the point where, I wish I had the book with me. I don't have it right now, but I'll show you guys. I'll have a link in the description. So I said, all right, I gotta make this happen. So speaking of Kobe in the fourth quarter, a week before Kobe ruptured his Achilles, I actually ruptured my Achilles, my left Achilles tendon, completely detached, a week before he did. And same outcome. I was playing basketball, I made a visit to Atlanta, Georgia to visit family and friends. I had some old sneakers in my mom's closet. I haven't worn them in years just to go hoop, and bam, injury. And so I fly back to New York area where I worked, and fortunately worked for the government. I had tons of sick leave, and I had to spend 2 months on sick leave, and my leg was propped up. And at first I thought, oh, woe is me, right? You know, I had 1 year left to meet my goal of saying goodbye to 9 to 5, and I can't even walk. So how am I gonna go to networking events to learn real estate investing? How am I gonna go to networking events to partner with others who have the capital? How am I gonna drive for dollars and see properties and meet with real estate agents, and I'm immobile? I can't walk, right? And of course, you know, initially I started feeling sad about my state in life, that I may have to push my goals back. But then I read the book, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. Now this was around when Hurricane Sandy hit New York City. It wasn't that bad. It was a tropical storm at this point, so it wasn't really a hurricane, but we were still without power, without public transportation. All the subways were shut down. There was flooding. So we were pretty much stationary. And so I read the book, Think and Grow Rich. And as I read the book, I said, you know what? I'm actually going to apply the principles I learned in this book. So that's the third tip, apply the principles, right? So, and again, all the stuff I'm sharing with you, these 3 tips about the creed, resignation letter, mixing your faith with someone else, also applying what you've learned in books that help with your personal development. None of these things are technical about real estate investing. Okay, I'm gonna get into that in a short moment, right? So I read the book top to bottom. So I began to apply the principles read in the book, whether having that mastermind group, the power of the subconscious mind in chapter 4, persisting until you win, and so forth. And I began to internalize it to the point I said, you know what? Maybe this is a blessing. You know, every cloud has a silver lining. Perhaps with my leg being propped up, unable to walk, maybe it's a sign. Maybe what I need to do is shift mindsets and stop thinking like a landlord. A landlord is someone who, which I was doing, was the janitor to the CEO. I'm sweeping the front porch. I'm knocking on the doors to see if the tenants had the rent. If they didn't, I'm going to the court to file an eviction. I'm showing up for court for the eviction process. I'm also showing vacant units. I'm also fixing the doorknob. I'm looking for my own capital, using my own savings. I was doing everything under the sun. And as a result of me being a landlord, meaning maintaining a self-employment mindset, there's only so much I can do because my time is limited and my intellect is finite. And so as a result, that's the reason why it took me 3 long years to get 7 units. So being that I had plenty of time to think now, I realized, okay, well, what type of mindset can I now occupy? And I realized I had to shift from being a landlord, a self-employed mindset, to more of a real estate entrepreneur. Again, an entrepreneurial mindset. An entrepreneurial mindset with real estate is basically, how can I scale my portfolio independent of the resources I bring to the table? Independent of my credit, independent of my capital, independent of my time, because those are the most valuable resources. Of course, time and money are the most valuable. Time is the utmost more valuable because time can't be replaced. But you gotta add credit to the mix too, because it's important when you're doing properties. And speaking of properties, I said, well, if I'm a real estate entrepreneur, how can I get these 10 units instead of doing a duplex, a single family, and a quadplex? That's how I got my 7. And I said, well, what if I shift gears and stop focusing on residential properties, single families, and what if I focus on multifamily? And instead of using my savings, what if I switch gears and start thinking about other forms of creative financing, hard money, seller financing, commercial mortgages, limited partnerships, wraparound mortgages, master lease options. If I use creative financing, in other words, if I finance a property 100%, then I can buy deals on a repeatable basis because it's not limited to my savings. I don't have to be on a ramen noodle diet. I don't have to be scrimping and saving, living on a meager, frugal lifestyle. If I switch gears from thinking about what I had to bring to the table to see what others can bring to the table, the real estate entrepreneurial mindset. So that's the next step. So once I adopted this new way of thinking, that's when things changed. So even though I couldn't walk, I was buying properties remotely because I was thinking, well, if I shift my mindset and try to leverage teams and systems, then I should be able to do this remotely. Perhaps I can invest out of state in a particular market. Perhaps I can leverage someone else's capital, maybe even someone else's credit. And I began to buy properties every other month to the point I acquired $1 million worth of properties. I acquired 23 units in that single year, to the point it increased my number of units from 7 to 30. In just 12 months, to the point where my net worth increased over $1 million based upon the assets that I had, meaning the value of the assets minus the liabilities, the debts, the mortgages, and all that good stuff, solely because I followed those 4 key steps. So if you're interested in building your own portfolio, and I know I share with you more of the conceptual knowledge of how to do so, right, with those 4 steps. But if you're interested in more so the technical knowledge, such as, okay, I heard you say hard money, I heard you say commercial financing, master lease options, buying properties out of state, multifamily commercial mortgages, how are you able to get qualified? Because I too tried reaching out to a lender, got denied. I too tried getting capital from limited partnerships. They didn't want to do any business with me because they said I was green, wet behind the ears. I had no proven track record. How in the world, Juan Pablo, were you able to make that happen? Hey, there's nothing special about me. I didn't have an Ivy League education. I didn't have a rich uncle. I didn't start off with good credit. I had bad credit. I know how it is, right? So if you're looking for the technical knowledge, then I encourage you to watch this free training that we have, which will share with you the 5 steps to be able to cash flow 5 figures per month in passive income. That's $10K a month. It's completely doable, independent of your credit, the amount of capital you have, your real estate experience, or the market that you're in, whether you're in an up market, a down market, or the market is stagnant. And I'll close with this, because that's one thing my mentor shared with me. It's all mindset. Because at times I would think, well, being that we're in a sales market, maybe I should hold off on cash. Or being that we're in an economic downturn, there's so much uncertainty happening in the market, maybe I should wait to invest. No. Think about it, if your goal is to be a full-time real estate investor, which was mine, as I shared in my resignation letter, right? As a full-time real estate investor, do you think because of the market conditions that full-time real estate investors, professionals in other words, they're just taking a backseat to the market? You think they're gonna wait, let's say a recession lasts several years, you think they're gonna wait several years to get back into the market? When the market turns in their favor? No. If you wait for the weather to be perfect, you will never plant, AKA invest. You'll never sow. That's in Ecclesiastes. So what you want to do instead is have a difference in mindset. And this is the mindset in which I close. He said this. Hey Juan, when do you invest? Do you invest in the up market, down market, or the market stagnant, sideways, economic downturns, booms? When do you invest? I assume he cut me off. No. You invest in any market. Who cares what's going on with the outer world? What matters most is what's going on in the inner world. So based upon who you are as an entrepreneur full-time, you will find a way, you will find a solution to invest in any type of market. It's all it is. Sure, you might change your strategy when it's an up market or a down market. Sure, you might focus more on marketing when it's a seller's market versus a buyer's market. But at the end of the day, you buy properties in any market. So if you're looking to buy properties in any market, check our free training below. As always, guys, this is to your success. Continue to earn passively, live passionately. Peace.